Previously on Balls.
What we're going to do now is go to topods.com. Leon Petz, who Thumper Pigeon on Twitter, because he ignored my advice last week on Bournemouth to get a draw against Liverpool and take them to a replay in the FA Cup. He decided the best bet was Blitzbocker to win the Las Vegas Sevens, and lo and behold, it came to pass. Another 1,000 rand for Wings of Change, and I think we're closing in on about what, 3.5, 4, 5 grand for charity, thanks to Thumper Pigeon and Happy Lux. Viv Pike is another guy who gives us some money to spend on charity bets. We put the money on. If we win the bet, we can put another bet on, and all the profit goes to Wings of Change Golf charity. I've been to their golf days; they're brilliant. They're a real charity, guys. They don't hand money to silly people; they hand money to people that matter. So topods.com. And Brandon, are you there?
Yes, Neal.
Let me try and fill you in, Brandon, and the listeners and viewers that we have. Twitter's going mad, by the way, for bollocks today. Inundated with Twitter. I need to put 500 rand today on one bet. I need a 500 rand World Cup bet. We've already bet on Uruguay and Holland, haven't we, Comfort? Is that right? And then I'm going to get Viv Pike up, and he wants to put 1,000 rand. Earlier in the week he did, before Arsenal drew with Southampton and Manchester City went top last night. He wanted to put 1,000 rand on Arsenal either for the double or the treble, or maybe just the FA Cup now, I'm starting to think. So, Brandon, can you just talk us through... I heard you had slow internet today, but topods.com, www.topods.com is where we need to go now. We need to look at the odds. You click on the green menu down the side of www.topods.com, and we will pick now, Brandon, a bet. Where do you want to start?
Well, first of all, I hope you guys put your 500 rand on the Blitzbocker last weekend. We did tip that on the show.
Yeah, it was you that said it. Leon Petzer said it, Thumper Pigeon on Twitter. I said, no, let's go with Bournemouth to get a draw against Liverpool. Sometimes these little sides can get a draw at home, take them to a replay at Anfield, it becomes their life's ambition. I was wrong. You two were right. And luckily, Maz allowed sanity to prevail, and we did put 500 rand on the Blitzbocker to win in Las Vegas. Sensational win. I think they're top. Aren't they top now, the Blitzbocker of the whole Sevens World Series? My rugby isn't as strong as my football. I was talking a lot of rugby and cricket last night at Supersport Park when the Titans were playing. And obviously, South African rugby is quite a safe bet. South African football isn't such a safe bet. Football generally, apart from in Spain, is not an easy bet, a bet to make. I'm just clicking on soccer on topods.com, waiting for the odds to come up. For me, the big football game this weekend, basically because of my English bias, is that Manchester City are playing Chelsea on Monday night. We've also got Stoke versus Man United. Pretty obvious, if Robin van Persie's playing, Man United will continue to revive a little bit. Hull versus Tottenham after last night, I just don't know. I mean, Tottenham could go to Hull again. And then Arsenal versus Crystal Palace should be a win for Arsenal. But the big one, Monday night, Man City beat Chelsea. Where do you want to start, Brandon?
Believe it or not, I was looking this morning at Chiefs versus Swallows to start us off.
Okay, that's interesting.
Just have a look at the bookmakers. The bookmakers have Chiefs up at 8-10. That's LM Bookmaker and World Sports Betting. And Chiefs, I think Chiefs on a run at the moment. They need to keep that extended lead, especially after Pirates winning in the week. And I think that might be a little bit of value. I'm not too sure how Swallows have been playing.
They're not bad. Zeka Marks has got a nice little defensive unit going there. They're certainly not doing badly. They'll be a top 8 side. But Kaiser Chiefs on a record run actually of 7 PSL wins on the trot under Stuart Baxter. But I didn't think they played that well against Sundowns. They needed an own goal to beat Sundowns in that top of the table clash last Thursday. But yes, are you saying put money on Chiefs?
Yeah, I'm saying that, and usually, I like to draw in the PSL games. But like you say, they didn't play well against Sundowns. You can't compare the Sundowns and Swallows sides when they managed to grind out a victory. So I think Baxter's got it right, and it's got a little bit of value at 8-10.
For Wings, I'm just seeing what our listeners think of this. 500 rand at 8-10 on Kaiser Chiefs to beat Morocco Swallows. Yeah. Let's do it. Well, I mean, let's do it. Let's keep talking about it. I like that. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people hoping that Chiefs slip up a bit because now they're 8 points clear. Although Sundowns and a few others have games in hand, Orlando Pirates with their 5 games in hand would come in second if they won all those 5, but I don't think they will. I think they'll win 3 or 4. If Leonardo Majora was to go there in the next 48 hours and suddenly Roger's got a fresh new striker to stick up front, we should be looking at Orlando Pirates as well picking up a couple of wins, but we won't know that for another 24, 48 hours. So, okay, your advice at the moment... Yeah, go.
Just a question to you. I mean, was it really that serious that if Desai didn't win in the week, that was his job?
I don't know. I mean, I speak to Roger. I text Roger. Roger told me that Vieira Masalesa would be playing in place of Andila Jali. I'm trying to put to our readers and our listeners, losing Andila Jali was in many ways a huge blow to Orlando Pirates. He's gone to Ostenda. He didn't play last night. Mashekwi actually scored for Ostenda on Tuesday night in the Cup, semi-final first leg. Ostenda have never got to a Cup final before, but they've got billionaire, or not millionaire, new owners. They've taken Andila Jali. He may make his debut against Charleroi over the weekend. And of course, then what do Pirates do? What does Roger do? Roger comes out and says that Vieira Masalesa, the young lad we've spoken to on this show, will replace Jolly, or he's a more defensive player than Jolly, and it worked so well. So Pirates won that game. The game before, Roger had been pelted by Orlando Pirates fans because he hadn't got a win this year, and with all these games in hand, everyone thought Pirates would shoot up. So Roger is, mate, when you're Orlando Pirates coach and you're not top of the league, you are under huge pressure. They won those 2 trebles. Roger came in, took them to 3rd last season from 12th when he took over from Augusto Palacios. He took them to the African Champions League final. He took them to the MTN 8 final. He took them to the Telkom knockout final. They lost twice domestically to Platinum Stars, but nevertheless, at least he gets them to finals. He's brought in 13. What did we work out? He poured in 13 million rand, over 30 million rands of prize money, and yet still, if he draws one, he lost to SuperSport, didn't they? Then they drew with Amazulu, and suddenly Roger finds himself being pelted by the fans. Missiles thrown at him. I think Pirates fans should be fined for that. Roger's always under pressure, mate. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, and that's how fickle football fans can be. I remember discussing, was it a month or 2 ago, how well Pirates are doing, and Champions League final, etc. But anyway, I mean that's football, and I would follow Pirates over the next couple of games.
Yeah,
I think they will get a few wins. But I think we need to direct our attention, obviously, to Man City, Chelsea. Man City last night, another absolute hammering of a side, 5-1. I know Aguero's injured. I'm not sure with regard to the extent of that injury.
Yeah.
But geez, I mean, even off the field, and Jovetic came on. He's been injured for a while and scored a goal. So, I mean, how do you back against these guys to win the league? How do you back against these guys to win the FA Cup? I mean, they're winning FA Cup games 4-0 with their second string. I think where they will be found out is in the Champions League. I don't think that defence is as good as it should be, but I do think that they will come up against a test. And that test is Chelsea, and I think, geez, the odds are, as I say, my internet is slow in front of me, so if you could just advise us what the odds are there. I think Chelsea might be a little bit of value in this game.
Yeah.
Have you got it up?
72.
Yeah.
Just over 72.
Chelsea,
yeah.
Man City. Monday night, guys.
Chelsea, 5-2 for a draw.
Yeah.
And obviously 17-20 for Man City.
I mean, it's value on Man City. I mean, they should win a game like that. But the Mourinho factor has to come into play, and I think he's going to go there. He might just set up for the draw, and invite City to come on him, to be on him and try and get that goal. And Hazard on the breaks, not one of the worst, breakers of a football that I've seen. So it could be very, very interesting on Monday.
It's obviously the fascinating game last night. Just to fill people in case they missed it, Chelsea went to Chelsea were at home at Stamford Bridge. West Ham turned up. Sam Allardyce's relegation threatened West Ham, and Mourinho accused them of parking the bus. Sam's bus stopped a record 39 shots. It's the most shots that a side's had without scoring in the Premier League since 2004, I think it was. And Mourinho, very bitter afterwards. Sam Allardyce, some brilliant comments afterwards. When he was told that Mourinho accused him of parking the bus, he basically swore to all the journalists and said he doesn't really care. Mourinho talks shite, is what he said. Shite is a rude word. I'm fascinated by Chelsea. I don't think. I think letting Mata go was a ridiculous mistake to let him go to Man United this time. He went in, he reinvigorated Man United. Robin van Persie was back. Mata had an assist in that win for Man United. Chelsea, a 0-0 draw last night with West Ham. They could have gone second. They could have gone ahead of Arsenal on goal difference if they'd won by 2 goals last night. And there's Man City, mate. I think the stat is 88 goals in 23 games. They're averaging nearly 4 goals a game, Manchester City. And every time a striker falls over, like I think Aguero went off after scoring last night with a hamstring, then they've got a Jovetic, or they've got a Dzeko, or they've got Silva scoring. Negredo's had a great season so far for them. They've always got replacements. They've got depth. They've got billions of pounds of oil money from Sheikh Mansour in Abu Dhabi. And I've said all along that Arsenal are basically caretakers of the lead spot for as long as Man City are playing like that. And last night it came to pass. Man City now top. So I think if I was to put a £500 bet, I'd find it very difficult to bet against Man City at the moment on Monday against Chelsea. Brandon? Oh, we've lost Brandon, have we?
No, he's still here.
Okay.
Brandon?
So,
okay, besides,
we're looking at
meanwhile, I'll try and get hold of him again. But you can also take a look at Newcastle, Sunderland.
Yeah. Newcastle, Sunderland, they're the 2 big cities in the northeast. The Newcastle lads call themselves Geordies from the tune, and the Sunderland fans call themselves Wearsiders. You're not allowed to call them Geordies. 2 cities very close to each other. Their accents sound very similar to South Africans, but in truth, they're 2 different tribes, the Sunderlanders and the Newcastlers, and that is their big derby. And of course, Sunderland having lost Kabaya this week to PSG, I think it was about 19 million, was it? 17 million? He's gone. Newcastle drew 0-0 with Norwich after that move. I think it shook them up a bit. Pardew and all his Frenchmen kind of in some kind of shock. And of course, Gus Poyet at Sunderland has absolutely changed things around since what Rob Shepherd on this show last week called the ridiculous reign of Paolo Di Canio. We've seen Sunderland pop out of the relegation zone, having been bottom when Gus Poyet took over. Gus Poyet, a very popular Uruguayan player at Chelsea, and turning it into a very, very good coach with limited resources at Sunderland. That Sunderland-Newcastle game, I mean, it'll be packed. You will not be able to buy a ticket for that. You'll be paying black market prices to get into that particular game.
Yeah.
But how would you bet on it? I'd bet Sunderland, mate, right at the moment.
And the odds are actually good on Sunderland. Brendan, what do you think? It's 72 for Sunderland. Obviously, just slightly. It's 9-1. No, 9-10 for Newcastle to win it, and a draw is 5-2.
I look at it. I think Johan Kabay was a massive loss to Newcastle. I think he made that midfield tick, and now that he's gone, I think it's going to take some adjusting for Alan Pardew and his men. To get over. They say a signing always lifts the side, but I mean, Kabay leaves. There's got to be some sort of after effect. And I wouldn't put anything on Newcastle in that game because I think that Sunderland are going to get something, and they might get all.
Well, since Gus Poyet took over, I've just been saying, Uruguayan international came to Chelsea, gradually built himself a reputation. He's coached at the lower levels, and now turns up at Sunderland after Paolo Di Canio takes him from bottom to out of the relegation zone in record time. I'd put my money on Sunderland, and bearing in mind this is a huge game. I mean, they don't like each other, Sunderland and Newcastle, although they're neighbouring cities in the northeast. There's a lot of aggro between them. I think I'd probably go on Sunderland. What are the odds there on Sunderland?
72.
Sunderland are 7-2. I mean, that's just under 4-1.
Yeah.
Both bookmakers, Alan Bookmaker and World Sports Betting, will lay that. And
that's one to look at, isn't
it? Might just be a little bit of value. I think that they're on a run and they might just get something.
Listen, Brandon, I want to speak to you briefly. After this, I'm going to speak to Viv Pike, Happy Lux on Twitter, who wants to put some money on an Arsenal double. What are the odds on an Arsenal double? Can you find them anywhere? We couldn't find them earlier.
Yes.
What would you say they are?
Well, the Premier League odds are suspended. Obviously, the games are lost tonight. And with those massive results, I mean, the bookmakers now need to reorganise their betting in terms of Man City now will be favourites. Not that they weren't favourites before, but they'll be shorter favourites.
Yeah.
And Arsenal, I think, were around about 3-1 before this week of games to win the league, and that was them being on top. I think those prices will definitely go up. But the FA Cup price I can give you, all bookmakers won on Arsenal to win the FA Cup.
Sorry, just say that again, please, Brandon. FA Cup odds on Arsenal?
FA Cup, Arsenal are 4-1.
4-1. Premier League, they were 3-1 before the draw with Southampton. Champions League, 1,000,000 to 1 because they got Bayern next.
To win the Champions League, they're 3-1. So I mean, if you work it out, Neil, and I worked it out, because I know you like earning your money, but I mean, if you take Arsenal to win the FA Cup, or to Arsenal to win the Champions League, just that double, they'll lay you about 150 to 1.
Sorry,
50.
150 to 1. So I keep
double.
missing you there. Okay, so you reckon the FA Cup Champions League double would pay out 150 to 1?
That's right.
Well, that's rightly
If
so,
you
isn't it? I
had
mean,
the
how are they
Premier
going to get past Bayern Munich, Arsenal, when they got
If
Giroud
you
up
had to,
front?
if you had to throw the Premier League in there, geez, you're looking at 600-700 to 1 comfortably. And you wouldn't have to work for the rest of the year for your 100 rand days.
No, exactly, mate. I mean, we have made a bit of money for the Wings of Change charity. And then just finally from you, because also we've got Leon Petzer, Thumper Pigeon on Twitter, wants to put some money for charity on a third World Cup winner in Brazil later this year. We've already bet on Holland and Uruguay. Have you got one that we could have a look at? Is there a nice one?
I mean, the nice one is Brazil. I mean, you guys can't leave Brazil out.
Maybe it's time to put Brazil money
You
in.
have to put some money on Brazil. They're not going to shorten any time soon, but geez, the quicker you get your money on, the quicker you'll get paid, I think.
Well, there's a bit of worry around Neymar. That ankle injury looked quite nasty. Will he be fit for the World Cup? I mean, that worries me slightly. Neymar is now the face of Brazil, isn't he? Be very interesting.
Yeah, most definitely. But I still think there'll be, Argentina might have a chance. But if we're going to progressively bet, I mean, you'd have to put money on Brazil, and sooner rather than later, before you forget them.
Yeah, great stuff, Brendan. Okay, mate. Well, look, we've got a few things to talk about. We may put some money on Sunderland against Newcastle. We may put some money on, on Man City to beat Chelsea. Do you think?
Yeah, they should win at home. And Mourinho goes there and park the bus, which he's going to do. Okay. And then he's, upset with Sam Allardyce for doing the same.
Okay, let's see if we can persuade Leon Petzer and Viv Pike for charity bets on that basis. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you, Top Odds to Compare on Twitter. Thank you.
Visual Radio. Radio like you've never seen it before. Balls.co.za